Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, it's never quite good enough? Like you're carrying this invisible pressure to be perfect, to hold it all together, to get it all right. But underneath it, you're exhausted. This video breaks down what it means to have Virgo ruling each house in your birth chart and how that energy may be manifesting as perfectionism, procrastination, self criticism, and quiet burnout. Let's explore the deeper spiritual and emotional meaning of your Virgo house so that you can shift from overfunctioning into alignment and reclaim your power. So let's dive in.
Virgo ruling the first house is a placement that shapes your entire aura, identity, and approach to life. This is one of the most self critical, quietly powerful placements in the chart. It's where perfectionism doesn't just influence how you operate, it becomes who you think you have to be. This is where your need to be useful becomes your armor, and your sacred sensitivity hides behind being the capable one. The first house is your rising sign, identity, physical appearance, approach to life, and how others first perceive you. It's the energetic lens through which you meet the world and how the world meets you. With Virgo ruling this house, you come across as grounded, thoughtful, detail-oriented, and highly observant. You're someone who notices everything and often assumes others do too. So you move through life carefully, consciously, and often hyper aware of how you're being perceived. There's an intuitive drive to be of service, to be good, to be useful, to be enough. You might constantly adjust, adapt, or perfect how you show up, thinking if you can just present the right version of yourself, everything will be okay. This placement often creates a high-functioning exterior with a quietly anxious interior. You might feel like people see you as put together, smart, or reliable, but you rarely feel that way inside. Virgo in the first ask, what if I stopped trying to become worthy and just decided that I already am? This is where perfectionism becomes your personality. You don't just want to do things right. You want to be right. You want to appear competent, together, and polished, even when you're falling apart inside. Virgo ruling your first house comes with a few blocks or challenges. So this can show up as constant self-editing. What you say, how you dress, how you move, how you're perceived. This can also show up as chronic self-doubt or imposter syndrome, even when others see you as capable. Over-identifying with being the fixer, the helper, or the healer in every situation. Physical tension in the body from trying to hold it all in and together. This can show up as people pleasing, and overthinking every decision to avoid being judged or wrong. Feeling invisible or misunderstood because no one sees the pressure that you're under. Also, seeing flaws in yourself that others don't and obsessing over them. You may move through life being the responsible one, the capable one, or the calm one. But inside, you often feel exhausted, unseen, or unworthy. Now, Virgo ruling your first house can show up in your day-to-day life in several ways. So, you may often feel like you have to be the one who anticipates everything, takes care of details, or ensures things go smoothly. You may downplay compliments because you're already aware of what you could have done better. You may micromanage your appearance, your work, or your decisions, even if no one's watching. You may struggle to let others in emotionally because you fear being seen as messy, needy, or not in control. You may take pride in your self-awareness, but often use it to self-criticize instead of empower. You may feel disconnected from your body, constantly analyzing or trying to fix something about it. Or you may silently resent people who get to be carefree or messy without consequence. You wear the armor of, "I've got this," so well that no one realizes how deeply you crave the freedom to let go. Virgo in the first heals when you stop trying to be the most polished version of yourself and start allowing your presence to be enough. Now, some of the best ways for you to reclaim balance and heal this placement is first to practice showing up unfiltered. Let yourself be seen in your becoming, not just your mastery. Next is to speak to yourself with the same grace you offer others. You're not here to fix yourself. You're here to be yourself. Next is to soften your body. Tension is not your natural state. Ground into breathing, movement, rest, and self-touch. Next is to redefine identity. You are not just what you do, how you help, or how well you manage. You are worthy by existing. Next is to ask yourself, if I didn't have to be useful, what would I want to be? Then let yourself explore that. Next is to start receiving. Let others help. Let others lead. Let yourself need. And finally, celebrate progress over perfection. Your growth is unfolding beautifully, even when it's not polished. You don't need to carry the world on your shoulders to deserve love or respect. Let yourself be seen, not for how well you perform, but for who you already are A great affirmation for you having Virgo in your first house is, I am not here to be perfect. I am here to be present. I allow myself to be seen, supported, and enough in every moment. I'd love to hear how this resonated with you, so definitely let me know in the comments. And of course, be sure to share this with your friends who can also benefit from this message, and subscribe for more. And if you're done waiting for alignment and ready to be the alignment, my signature one-on-one sessions and tools are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Virgo ruling the second house is a deeply layered placement that shapes your relationship with self-worth, money, value, and security. It's where the soul craves stability, but often places conditions on receiving it, where being worthy becomes something you try to earn rather than something you believe you already are. This is the energetic blueprint of someone who's highly capable, hardworking, and self-sufficient, but secretly trapped in a cycle of not enoughness. The second house governs your money, your possessions, earned income, your sense of self-worth, and what you value. It's your foundation, what makes you feel grounded, supported, and secure in the material world. With Virgo ruling this house, you have a practical, resourceful, and highly discerning approach to finances and security. You work hard, you're responsible, you notice details others overlook. You may even have a knack for budgeting, systems, or monetizing your skills. But underneath this grounded exterior is often a subconscious belief that worth must be earned through doing, fixing, or perfecting. You may tie your value to how much you produce, how useful you are, or how well you manage your life. This placement often manifests as the inner voice that says, you're only worthy if you've proven it. Virgo in the second house asks, what would change if you believed you were enough, even when you're not doing anything? This is where the perfectionism becomes internalized and transactional. You may deeply struggle to receive, rest, or feel safe in your body unless you've checked off every box first. Now, some common blocks of having Virgo ruling your second house is feeling undeserving of abundance unless you worked extremely hard for it. Undervaluing your gifts, pricing your services too low, or downplaying your skills. Another block is feeling like I should be doing more, even when you're already at capacity. This can also show up where you're judging yourself for your spending habits or material desires. Constantly tweaking or perfecting your income streams, brand, or offerings. Delaying self-care or joy until everything else is done. Or holding deep shame around receiving without earning it. This placement often creates a loop. I'll feel safe when I make more money. I'll make more money when I feel safe. But the inner critic always moves the goalpost. Now, Virgo ruling your second house can show up in your day-to-day life in several ways. So, you may work overtime, take on extra responsibilities, or micromanage money to feel in control. You may secretly fear instability, even when you're financially okay. You may struggle to trust others with money, business, or shared resources. You may overthink every purchase, investment, or financial decision. You may feel immense guilt when resting, spending on yourself, or receiving help. You have brilliant ideas, but hesitate to charge your worth because it's not perfect yet. Or you look put together on the outside, but often feel internally anxious or unworthy. People may see you as responsible and self-sufficient, but inside you're constantly trying to prove that you've earned your right to be here. Now, Virgo in the second is healed when you release the belief that your value is something to be measured. When you realize that the deepest form of security comes not from control, but from trusting your inherent worth. Now, to begin to realign and balance this energy, the first step is to uncouple your worth from your work. You are valuable even when you rest, receive, or exist in stillness. Next is to raise your prices, raise your standards, raise your voice. You don't need to prove your value. You are the value. Next is to practice receiving without justification. Let someone treat you. Let abundance flow in without effort. Let it be easy. Next is to nourish your body as sacred, not something to optimize. Virgo here often leads to body-based self-criticism. Instead, honor, thank, and tend to it. Next is to rebuild your sense of safety from the inside out. Ask yourself, what would make me feel safe without hustling? Then move from that place. Next is to spend money on what makes you feel expansive, not just efficient. You are allowed to enjoy luxury, pleasure, and softness. And finally, rewrite the script. You don't need to earn rest. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to be perfect to be supported. You're here to be a vessel of grounded abundance, but only if you stop demanding perfection from yourself as the price for peace. A great affirmation for you having Virgo ruling your second house is, I am inherently worthy. I release the need to prove or perform. I allow myself to receive with ease, grace, and grounded trust. I'd love to hear how this resonated with you, so be sure to let me know in the comments. And of course, be sure to like, share this with your friends who can also benefit from this message, and subscribe for more. And if you are ready to start living the version of your life you actually deserve, my signature one-on-one sessions and tools are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Virgo ruling the third house is a placement that deeply influences how you think, speak, learn, and connect with others. This is the house of communication. But when Virgo lives here, your voice can become filtered through layers of self-censorship, overanalysis, and pressure to say it right. This is the placement of the quiet intellectual, the mental perfectionist, the over-editor, and often the inner child who learned that being smart or precise earned safety. The third house rules your communication style, thought processes, daily interactions, writing, speaking, and mental habits. It also governs early education and your relationships with siblings or peers. With Virgo ruling this house, your mind is highly analytical, detail-focused, curious, and observant. You may be someone who picks up on things other people miss, especially flaws, inconsistencies, or inefficiencies. You're most likely an excellent communicator on paper or in a prepared speech, but spontaneous expression can feel vulnerable. This placement often creates a powerful intellect that hides under overthinking. So you may constantly double-check your words, reread texts, or hold back ideas because you fear being misunderstood or sounding wrong. At its best, Virgo here is a sacred editor, a wisdom sharer, and a messenger of clarity. But the shadow is a mental prison of self-doubt. This house asks, what if your voice didn't need to be perfect to be powerful? This is where your perfectionism hides your inner dialogue, where you become your own harshest critic. Virgo here tends to over-intellectualize emotions, resist vulnerability, and filter communication through fear of judgment. Some of the more common blocks of having Virgo ruling your third house are rehearsing conversations in your head before saying them out loud, silencing yourself because you're afraid of saying the wrong thing, editing your personality to match who you're talking to, feeling mentally overloaded from constantly processing every detail, being overly critical of others' grammar, logic, or ideas as a defense mechanism, struggling to express emotional needs clearly, defaulting to being logical or fine, or being told as a child that you were too sensitive, too picky, or too much, leading to self-silencing. There's often a deep fear that if your words aren't perfect, they'll be dismissed, or worse, used against you. Now, having Virgo ruling your third house can show up in your day to day life in a few different ways. So, you could be really great at giving advice, but struggle to talk about your own emotions. You may write long texts and delete them before hitting send. You may feel misunderstood often, despite over explaining or clarifying. You may keep journals full of ideas that never get shared. You may struggle to speak up in group settings or meetings, fearing that you're not the expert. You may have learned to observe, assess, and adapt, but not always to express. Or you may feel pressure to sound smart or get it right, even in casual conversations. You may have a brilliant voice, but it's held hostage by an inner critic that whispers, "Don't say that. That's not good enough." Virgo in the third is healed when you free your voice from the pressure of precision and let it flow with authenticity. Your medicine isn't in being perfect, it's in being real. Now, to begin to balance and realign with this energy, the first step is to speak before you edit. Practice saying what you feel before fixing it. Let your voice be messy, raw, and honest. Next is to rewrite your inner dialogue. Every time the inner critic appears, ask, "Would I speak to a child this way?" Then choose softness. Next is to express your needs out loud, even if they're not worded perfectly. You deserve to be heard now, not after it's polished. Next is to create without obsessing. Share the post, write the thing, start the podcast. Don't wait to be ready. Next is to trust your ideas. Virgo here leads to genius level insights that get buried under doubt. Your mind is sharp. Let it shine. Next is to unlearn the need to prove your intelligence. You don't need big words to carry big wisdom. And finally, let emotions coexist with logic. It's safe to cry and communicate, to feel deeply and speak clearly. You don't have to pick one. This is where your true voice lives, not in perfection, but in presence. Let the world meet the version of you who doesn't filter everything. That version is magnetic. A great affirmation for having Virgo ruling your third house is, "My voice doesn't have to be perfect to matter. I release the need to overthink and trust that my truth is worthy of being heard." I'd love to hear how this resonated with you, so be sure to let me know in the comments. And of course, be sure to like, share this with your friends who can also benefit from this message, and subscribe for more. And if you're tired of the self-help spiral and just want real results, my signature one-on-one sessions and tools are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Virgo ruling the fourth house is a placement that brings the energy of perfectionism, order, and service into your emotional foundation, private world, and sense of belonging. This house rules the home within yourself. And when Virgo lives here, that inner sanctuary often comes with silent pressure, self-monitoring, and deep emotional responsibility. This is the placement of the emotional caretaker who may not know how to rest unless everything feels in order, internally and externally. The fourth house governs your home, family, childhood conditioning, emotional safety, and roots. It's the most private part of your chart. What happens behind closed doors, what shaped you early on, and what you need to feel truly safe and nurtured. With Virgo ruling this house, there's often a childhood story of needing to stay organized, helpful, or emotionally composed to maintain harmony. You may have felt responsible for the emotional climate of your home, or learned that being good and useful was the safest way to receive love. Now, as an adult, this can manifest as emotional micromanaging. You may keep your inner world tightly controlled. So you may clean, plan, fix, or give as a way to avoid feeling. Or you may try to hold it all together at home, even when you're crumbling inside. Virgo here brings a deep longing for peace, stability, and safety, but it often creates a home environment, both physically and emotionally, where you feel like you're never quite doing enough. This house asks, what if your softness, not your service, is what makes you worthy of care? This is where perfectionism hides inside your most intimate emotional patterns. You may feel deeply responsible for your loved one's well-being, even when it costs you your own. Now, some common challenges that come with this placement are feeling like you have to earn rest or emotional support, becoming hypercritical of yourself or others at home or in private, struggling to feel safe unless your environment is tidy, predictable, and managed, internalizing early messages that it wasn't safe to feel too much, avoiding vulnerability by focusing on chores, tasks, or organizing instead. Feeling like your worth is tied to how put together your home, body, or emotions are, as well as becoming the family helper, peacekeeper, or invisible support system, but feeling unacknowledged. You may crave unconditional care, but don't know how to receive it without guilt or discomfort. Having Virgo ruling your fourth house can show up in your day-to-day life in several different ways. So You most likely keep a pristine or highly organized home, but struggle to relax inside of it. You may take care of others easily, but feel awkward asking for help in return. You may overfunction in family dynamics and may unconsciously parent your parents or siblings. You may intellectualize emotions instead of expressing them. You may clean, fix, or do when you're overwhelmed instead of feeling. You feel anxious when things are messy, physically or emotionally. Or you carry shame or guilt for not being enough for your family. You may be seen as the stable one or the rock in your family, but underneath, you long to be cared for without needing to perform. Virgo in the fourth heals when you create a home internally and externally, where you don't have to be perfect to feel safe. This isn't about having the right routine. It's about creating emotional permission to be messy, vulnerable, and fully human. Now, to begin to reclaim balance with this placement, the first step is to create a home that nurtures your nervous system, not just your to-do list. Choose softness, comfort, and slowness. Next is to let others take care of you. You don't need to be the strong one all the time. Let yourself be held. Next is to practice feeling without fixing. When emotions rise, resist the urge to clean, over-explain, or self-correct. Just feel. Next is to redefine your role in your family. You don't have to be the caretaker, the fixer, or the responsible one anymore. Next is to speak your emotional needs, even if they feel small or inconvenient. You deserve to be supported in ways that feel good to you. Next is to nurture your inner child. Let them rest. Let them play. Let them be imperfect and loved. And finally, welcome imperfection into your space. A messy house, an undone task, a full laundry basket. These are not emergencies. They're life. You're not a machine for managing life. You are a heart that needs space to feel safe being human. A great affirmation for you having Virgo ruling your fourth house is, I release the need to earn love through perfection. I create a home within and around me where I am free to feel, rest, and be. I'd love to hear how this resonated with you, so be sure to let me know in the comments. And of course, be sure to like, share this with your friends who can also benefit from this message, and subscribe for more. And if you're done playing small with your power, my signature one-on-one sessions and tools are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. The fifth house is the part of your chart that governs self-expression, creativity, happiness, romance, children, play, performance, and your inner child. It's the house of unapologetic shine, where you're meant to be seen, celebrated, and fully alive in your essence. Now, when Virgo rules this house, your self-expression becomes precise, measured, deeply intentional, and often highly self-edited. You may feel a constant pressure to perfect your joy before expressing it, which ironically creates distance between you and the very fulfillment you seek. This placement often brings someone with an incredible eye for detail and an understated, refined kind of creative brilliance, but who has trouble giving themselves permission to be out there with their gifts. Instead of playing freely, you may overanalyze how it'll be received. Instead of romancing yourself, you critique your body or your performance. Instead of fully enjoying your wins, you're already focused on how to improve. There's also a sacred longing here to feel safe being loved and celebrated without having to earn it. But the shadow of Virgo often whispers, only if you're perfect, only if you've done enough, only if it's flawless. This is where the soul asks, can I let happiness be enough without overthinking it? Can I shine without shrinking or editing myself first? Virgo in the fifth house often manifests as an invisible perfectionism wound, one that makes joy feel like a job and love feel like labor. So these blocks and challenges may show up as you may put pressure on yourself to earn love, attention, or validation through being good, helpful, or excellent at something. You may struggle with imposter syndrome around your creativity, feeling like it's never quite good enough to share. You may delay starting creative projects because you feel like you're not ready or it won't live up to your standard. You may find it hard to play or rest unless it's scheduled or feels productive in some way. You may hyperanalyze your body, appearance, or desirability, especially in romantic situations. You may sabotage happiness by turning it into a performance or a checklist, such as needing to plan the perfect date instead of enjoying a spontaneous one. And you may also take love seriously, but unconsciously treat it like a responsibility or a task, not something to just be in. This is the kind of perfectionism that doesn't scream. It simmers, and it slowly wears down your capacity for pleasure, connection, and creative risk-taking. So, having Virgo ruling your fifth house can show up in your day to day in several ways. So, you may love to create, but most of your projects live in your notes app, a sketchbook, or your laptop, not in the world. You may be known as the planner, the helpful one, or the practical partner in relationships, but feel unseen for your softer, more vulnerable desires. You may fall into the habit of cleaning, fixing, organizing, or doing for others as a way to feel loved or worthy. You may get anxious when something feels too messy or too unstructured, even if it's fun. You may have a very specific aesthetic, taste, or style, and a tendency to feel it's never quite refined enough. Or you might have a history of taking on the emotional needs of others in romantic dynamics, playing the role of healer or helper rather than receiving romance and playfulness. In relationships, you may be loving with acts of service, but feel exhausted when it's not reciprocated. And in creative life, you may feel stuck in a loop of almost launching something, but never quite hitting publish. This is where your soul is longing to feel free, free to be messy, radiant, sensual, seen, and joyful without needing to manage it all. Virgo in the fifth house is healed when you stop trying to control the expression and instead trust the essence. This is your invitation to stop waiting to feel ready and let your happiness lead you now. Now, some ways for you to realign and balance this energy is first to reframe creativity as connection, not performance. Let your art, your voice, your happiness be ways to express your inner world, not prove something to the outer one. Next is to heal your inner child. They don't need you to be perfect. They need you to know it's safe to have fun, to play, to make a mess. Next is to redefine what romance looks like. You don't need to always plan the perfect moment or over-deliver to feel loved. Let love be simple. Let love be mutual. Next is to practice good enough joy. Start dancing in the mirror. Start the project and post the imperfect video. Go on the date without over prepping. Live life in progress. Next is to get comfortable being the center of attention without justification. You don't need to earn the spotlight. Your presence is the art. And finally, replace perfection with presence. Every time your mind starts editing, choose embodiment instead. Return to the moment. Feel it fully. You reclaim your power when you stop apologizing for your happiness, your beauty, your weirdness, your art. It's not too much. It's exactly what your soul came here to share. A great affirmation for you having Virgo ruling your fifth house is, I release the need to be perfect, to be loved. I express my joy freely, receive love fully, and allow myself to shine without apology. I'd love to hear how this resonated with you, so be sure to let me know in the comments. And of course, be sure to like, share this with your friends who can also benefit from this message, and subscribe for more. And if you're ready to claim the version of you that doesn't settle, my signature one-on-one sessions and tools are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Virgo ruling the sixth house is a placement that feels at home here, but can also become the biggest trap for burnout, overfunctioning, and attaching your worth to how well you manage everything. This is where perfectionism gets praised, where being needed becomes an identity, and where your body, energy, and time start waving the red flag you keep ignoring. The sixth house rules your daily routines, work habits, health, service, and relationship to responsibility. Virgo naturally governs this house, so when Virgo rules it in your chart, you've likely internalized the belief that your value comes from being reliable, helpful, organized, and on top of it all. You're probably the person everyone turns to when something needs fixing, emotionally, practically, or energetically. But over time, this house becomes where you quietly pour from an empty cup. This is where you keep your world from falling apart, while hiding the fact that you're barely holding it together. Now with Virgo here, your superpower is discernment, devotion, and deep care. But your shadow is the belief that if you don't do it all and do it perfectly, you'll lose your place, your safety, your worth. This is the part of your chart that says, if I stop managing it all, will everything fall apart? Now, some common blocks or challenges with having Virgo ruling your sixth house is you may constantly feel like you're behind, even when you're doing more than enough. You may put everyone else's needs first and then secretly resent how invisible you feel. You may create elaborate routines or systems, but struggle to sustain them without guilt. You may feel guilty when resting, playing, or being unproductive. You may micromanage your body or health to feel some sense of control. You may take on more than you need to just to feel useful, needed, or worthy. And you may be the quiet perfectionist, always working behind the scenes, never really receiving in return. This is where burnout hides behind being efficient, where your body might be asking for a break, but your mind keeps pushing for more. Now, Virgo ruling your sixth house can show up in your day-to-day life in several different ways. So you may have a hard time asking for help and an even harder time accepting it. You may be known for your work ethic, reliability, or consistency, but no one sees the emotional toll it takes. You may avoid change in your routines because they give you a sense of control and safety. You might over-research health topics or be overly critical of your body. You may function best when your environment feels clean, calm, and in order, but chaos often finds its way back in. And you may be the one who remembers birthdays, checks in when no one else does, and keeps the wheels turning, but often feel unseen in the process. This is where you overgive and under-receive, where you carry more than you share and feel like it's just your role. Virgo in the sixth house reminds you that your value isn't in how much you do. It's in who you are underneath it all. Now, to begin to shift from this energy and balance and heal this placement, the first step is to reclaim rest as a spiritual practice. Your nervous system deserves peace just as much as your checklist deserves completion. Next is to ask, what am I really trying to control by staying busy? Often there's an emotion, a fear, or a belief underneath the productivity loop. Next is to say yes to support. You don't have to do it all alone. Delegation is not weakness. It's wisdom. Next is to create routines that nourish, not punish. It's okay if your morning doesn't start at 5 a.m. with a green juice and a 12-step ritual. Next is to unplug from perfection. Your healing doesn't come from getting it right. It comes from being real. And finally, be honest about your limits. You don't have to earn your rest. You are allowed to just be. The world benefits most when you're not burned out, but when you're brilliantly balanced. A great affirmation for you having Virgo ruling your sixth house is, I am not here to hold everything together. I give myself permission to rest, receive, and honor what I need. What hit home for you? Be sure to drop it in the comments. I'm listening. And, of course, be sure to share this with your friends who can also benefit from this message, and subscribe for more. And if you're ready to step into your upgraded timeline, my signature one-on-one sessions and tools are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. The seventh house rules your close relationships, partnerships, commitments, one-on-one dynamics, and what you unconsciously seek in the other. It's not just about romance. It's about mirrors. This is the house of sacred reflection. When Virgo rules your seventh house, your energy in relationships becomes deeply attuned, helpful, and precise. You see people. You notice the small things. You show love through acts of service, thoughtfulness, and an almost psychic awareness of what others need. You're the partner who brings care into every detail. But this same gift often comes with a wound, a fear that if you aren't helpful, polished, giving, or perfect, you won't be chosen. So you become the emotional organizer, silent fixer, energetic manager, or accountability partner in relationships, while craving someone who makes you feel emotionally safe, seen, and cherished. So, this means that you most likely attract partners who need you more than they hold you. Or you end up constantly scanning for what could go wrong, what's missing, or what still needs improvement, turning love into a silent labor. This placement often comes with a desire to find the perfect relationship. But the shadow is this: you will never feel safe in love until you let go of the belief that you have to earn it. Now, when it comes to certain blocks or patterns that comes with this placement, this is where perfectionism masquerades as being a good partner. But underneath that goodness is a deep exhaustion. So, some common blocks might be where you are over functioning in relationships, doing more, managing more, caring more. You could be attracting partners who rely on your support but don't reciprocate it. You may suppress your needs, emotions, or messiness to keep the peace. You may silently resent others for not showing up with the same effort you give. You may believe that you have to be the rational one or the healer in your connections. You may micromanage your appearance, communication, or timing in love. Or you may overanalyze what people think of you, how you're being perceived, or whether you're too much. This house becomes a space where your emotional labor goes unnoticed and where you keep showing up for others, hoping they'll one day show up for you, without realizing that true intimacy requires imperfection, not performance. Now, Virgo ruling your seventh house can show up in your day to day life in several different ways. So, it may be where you are often the one giving advice, planning everything, or doing the work in the relationship. You may feel responsible for your partner's healing, goals, or their growth. You may attract people who are emotionally chaotic or unclear, so you take on the burden of stabilizing the relationship. You may give love through acts of service, but secretly crave words, care, or softness that rarely gets returned. You may avoid conflict by staying composed, helpful, or agreeable, but carry unspoken disappointment. Or you may feel emotionally invisible, like no one truly checks in on you the way you do for them. Your brilliance in relationships is that you genuinely care, but your healing begins when you realize that you don't have to carry love. You're allowed to receive it. Virgo in the 7th house asks you to transform partnership from a project into a practice of presence. You're not here to be perfect in love. You're here to be held in it. Now, some ways for you to shift and balance this energy is first to unlearn the role of fixer. It is not your job to heal everyone you love. Love is not rescue. It's reciprocation. Next is to let yourself be supported. Ask yourself, where am I overgiving out of fear of being left? Then pause. Invite in the discomfort. Allow someone to show up for you. Next is to express your real needs, not just what's helpful, polite, or digestible, but what's raw, real, and honest. Next is to redefine what it means to be a good partner. It's not about being selfless. It's about being self-aware. Next is to practice radical softness. Let someone see you cry. Let them bring you tea. Let them take care of you without earning it. Next is to create boundaries with yourself. Just because you can fix, help, or do, it doesn't mean you should. And finally, be willing to outgrow people who only love the version of you that over functions. You deserve mutuality, not dependency. Your most aligned partnerships will never ask you to shrink, edit, or over-deliver. They'll invite you to exhale. A great affirmation for you having Virgo ruling your 7th house is, I am worthy of love that sees, supports, and softens me. I release the need to prove my value and open myself to receive it. I'd love to hear how this resonated with you, so definitely let me know in the comments. And of course, be sure to like, share this with your friends who can also benefit from this message, and subscribe for more. And if you're ready to follow the nudge that brought you here, my signature one-on-one sessions and tools are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Virgo ruling the 8th house is one of the most misunderstood and deeply karmic placements in the entire chart. This is the house of intimacy, transformation, trauma, trust, emotional merging, and the energy you exchange with others. When Virgo rules this part of your chart, you may appear grounded and helpful on the outside, but beneath the surface, you're constantly managing emotional chaos with quiet precision. This is the part of you that holds everything together while falling apart inside. The eighth house governs emotional entanglements, trauma, death and rebirth cycles, shadow work, sex, and power dynamics. It's where your soul goes to be transformed. When Virgo rules this house, you approach intimacy, vulnerability, and transformation with caution, calculation, and a need for control. You may not allow yourself to truly surrender to deep emotional experiences unless you feel safe, prepared, or ready. But the truth is, you rarely do. This placement shows a powerful need to feel in control of what's happening inside you, especially when emotions feel too raw, overwhelming, or unmanageable. So instead, you manage, you plan, you analyze, you perfect. You become the emotional organizer in relationships, the fixer, the one who understands everyone else's trauma while leaving your own unprocessed. You show up for others' healing, but keep your own grief tucked away in a back room you rarely open. Virgo in the eighth says, I'll dive into transformation as long as I can stay clean in the process. But the eighth house doesn't work like that. This is the part of your soul that needs to get messy to be reborn. This is where perfectionism becomes emotional self-protection. Instead of trusting others with your truth, you filter, suppress, and hide what feels too much. Now, the common patterns or challenges of this placement can show up as fear of losing control in emotional or sexual vulnerability, avoiding intimacy unless it feels safe or totally structured, feeling responsible for managing other people's emotions, healing, or chaos, overanalyzing pain instead of feeling it, bottling up grief, betrayal, shame, or fear because it feels ugly or unworthy, projecting perfection onto others, then becoming resentful when they fall short, or even keeping secrets or withholding emotions to avoid being perceived as messy or weak. You may crave transformation and intimacy, but unconsciously resist it because deep emotional messiness threatens the order Virgo clings to. Now, Virgo ruling your eighth house can show up in your day-to-day life in several different ways. So, you may be the emotionally mature one in relationships, the person others confide in, but rarely open up yourself. You have a powerful intuition and deep spiritual insight, but often hide it under practicality. You may struggle with jealousy, fear of betrayal, or trust issues, even if you don't show it. You may be hyper aware of other people's emotional patterns, but downplay your own trauma. You may use sex, intimacy, or energetic merging as a way to feel needed, but not necessarily known. You may secretly long to fully unravel in front of someone, but can't stop editing yourself. Or you may process your pain mentally, not emotionally, resulting in long-held wounds that manifest as anxiety, health issues, or inner tension. You want to heal. You are healing, but the eighth house says this isn't about managing your transformation. It's about letting it happen. Virgo in the eighth house asks you to release the emotional performance and step into embodied surrender. True healing here isn't clean. It's real. Now, to begin to balance and shift into alignment, having Virgo ruling your eighth house, the first step is to let your emotions be messy. You don't need to have the right words for what you're feeling. You just need to feel it. Next is to stop being everyone else's emotional safe space and become your own. You are not obligated to hold others through what they won't hold you through. Next is to create rituals for release. Journal, cry, rage, move, breathe. Give your body permission to move trauma out instead of analyzing it in circles. Next is to let someone see the parts of you you're afraid they'll reject. The more you soften, the more you find real connection. Next is to unlearn the belief that your darkness makes you unlovable. You are not here to be polished. You're here to be whole. Next is to say goodbye to people you're bonded to through trauma, not truth. You deserve partnerships where your tenderness is treasured. And finally, start telling the truth about what hurts, about what you want, about what you need. Healing starts there. You don't need to heal quietly, perfectly, or in a way that makes everyone else comfortable. You just need to be honest. A great affirmation for you having Virgo ruling your eighth house is, I release the need to hold it all in. My vulnerability is sacred. I am safe to feel, safe to heal, and safe to receive love in my wholeness. I'd love to hear how this resonated with you, so definitely be sure to let me know in the comments. And of course, be sure to like, share this with your friends who could also benefit from this message, and subscribe to stay in the flow. And if you're ready to step into your upgraded timeline, my signature one-on-one sessions and tools are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Virgo ruling the ninth house is a placement that holds quiet tension between truth and control, between freedom and fear, between inner knowing and the pressure to get it right. This house wants faith, but Virgo wants facts. And the result is often someone desperate to evolve, but afraid to leap. The ninth house is the domain of expansion, wisdom, philosophy, travel, belief systems, higher education, spiritual truth, and the quest for meaning. It's your portal to growth, the place where you reach for something bigger than what you've known. With Virgo ruling this house, your approach to expansion becomes careful, calculated, and quietly perfectionistic. You want to grow, but only when it's planned. You want freedom, but only when it's safe. You want truth, but only if it doesn't disrupt too much of your current identity. You might find yourself clinging to logic and structure, even if your soul craves wild surrender. You analyze spiritual ideas until they lose their magic. You edit your truth before it ever escapes your mouth. You constantly research, prepare, and perfect your path to growth, yet struggle to walk it. This placement is the subtle tug of war between I know I'm meant for more and what if I'm wrong? You seek truth through devotion, but the fear of being inaccurate, unqualified, or out of control often stops you from claiming the wisdom that's already inside you. Virgo in the ninth asks, can I trust my own knowing, even when it's messy, unfinished, or unproven? This is where the perfectionism of the mind becomes a prison. You overthink your expansion. You try to study your way into transformation. But true growth doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It asks for a leap. Now, some common blocks and challenges that may come with this placement may look like where you're constantly searching for the right path, teacher, method, or belief system. You may have a fear of being wrong, so you hold back from sharing your voice or claiming your expertise. You may feel spiritually connected, but intellectually skeptical, so you stay stuck in analysis. You may obsess over your credentials, clarity, or articulation before you'll let yourself teach or lead. You may want to travel, try new things, or evolve, but micromanage every step until the inspiration dies. You may feel like you need to earn your expansion through proving or over preparing. Or you may hold spiritual, philosophical, or moral beliefs to a high standard and become judgmental of yourself or others when those ideals aren't met. This is the silent burnout of the seeker who's too scared to claim the wisdom they already carry. Now, having Virgo ruling your ninth house can show up in your day-to-day life in several different ways. So This may show up where you are constantly signing up for courses, reading books, or consuming spiritual content, but delay actually applying it. You may long to teach, write, speak, or lead, but feel like you need to know everything before you start. You may edit your beliefs to make them more digestible, even when they no longer resonate. You may be fascinated by other cultures, worldviews, or ways of living, but tend to stick to the familiar. You may downplay your intuitive insights because they're not verifiable. You might struggle to connect deeply with your spiritual path because you critique it while walking it. Or you may say you want freedom, but create mental checklists that keep you trapped. Your soul wants to soar, but your mind keeps it grounded out of fear that you'll make a mistake, be misunderstood, or lose control. Virgo in the 9th is healed when you realize that truth is lived, not perfected. That wisdom expands the moment you stop questioning whether you're ready for it. Now, to begin to realign and balance this energy of having Virgo in your 9th house, the first step is to let your beliefs evolve without needing to explain them. You are allowed to grow out of old truths. You don't owe anyone an academic footnote. Next is to create before you're ready. Teach from experience. Share the messy middle part. Let your wisdom be imperfect and powerful at the same time. Next is to travel without a plan. Let yourself get lost. Meet someone unexpected. Explore something unstructured. Your spirit learns through experience. Next is to trust your intuition as much as your intellect. What you feel in your bones is more true than what you read in a book. Next is to notice where seeking truth is just spiritual procrastination. At some point, you have to leap. Next is to redefine what it means to be qualified. Your lived experience is your credential. Your embodiment is your proof. And finally, let your faith be flexible. You don't need to perfect philosophy to be aligned. You just need to stay curious, open, and present. This house is your soul's reminder that the path is created through walking it, and the magic is in the movement, not the mastery. A great affirmation for you having Virgo ruling your 9th house is, I trust the wisdom that lives inside me. I don't need to be perfect to expand. My truth is evolving, and that's enough. I'd love to hear how this resonated with you, so be sure to let me know in the comments. And of course, be sure to like, share this with your friends who can also benefit from this message, and subscribe for more. And if you're ready to align with the version of you that actually gets what they want, my signature one-on-one sessions and tools are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Virgo ruling the 10th house is one of the most powerful yet pressure-filled placements in the chart. This is where the soul longs to serve, lead, and be recognized, but feels like it has to be flawless to be seen. The public image, the purpose, the performance, it's all held to impossible standards until you heal the root belief that your worth is in what you produce. The 10th house is your career, reputation, public identity, legacy, and the highest expression of your life path. It's where you're seen, where the world forms its opinion of you, where your soul says, "This is the impact I want to leave." With Virgo ruling this house, your path to success is marked by devotion, diligence, skill, service, and integrity. You don't just want to succeed, you want to do it right. And not just right for you, right for your industry, your community, your family, and the vision of excellence you silently carry. But the shadow of this placement is the pressure to be perfect before you let yourself be visible, to prove your worth through achievement, to never stop working, tweaking, fixing, or improving. Your entire sense of purpose can become a performance, one that leaves you burnt out and never truly fulfilled. Virgo in the 10th house asks, what if success didn't require self-erasure? What if being seen didn't require being perfect? This is where hyper-responsibility and quiet perfectionism collide. You may be wildly capable, but never feel like you're ready for the next level because you're always measuring yourself against a standard you've never defined. Now, some common blocks and challenges that come with this placement could be where you feel like your worth is tied to your productivity or career success, where you are waiting until everything is perfect before launching, applying, or showing up, where you over-identify with your job, title, or role as a way to feel valuable, where you feel unqualified even when you're highly skilled. Hello, imposter syndrome. This can also show where you avoid visibility because you're afraid of being criticized or exposed, or doing what's expected of you professionally, even when your soul wants something different. Another challenge could be where you are constantly refining your brand, your offerings, your image, while never actually owning your gifts. You may work harder than anyone around you, but still feel like you're falling short. And the truth is, it's not that you're not enough. It's that your definition of enough has been impossible from the start. Now, Virgo in your 10th house can show up in your day-to-day life in several different ways. So you may get praised for being reliable, organized, and professional, but secretly crave freedom, creativity, and ease. You may have spent years building a reputation, but feel boxed in by it. You may resist going after a higher role or launching your own thing because of what if it's not ready yet? You could be incredibly good at your job, but rarely celebrate yourself. You may downplay your success even when you've worked hard for it. You may feel pressure to stay buttoned up, productive, and in control, even when you're struggling inside. You may have chosen a career path based on what felt safe or correct, not what actually lights you up. This is where burnout hides in plain sight, where you carry the weight of expectation without anyone realizing how heavy it is. Virgo in the 10th is healed when you realize that being respected and being real don't have to be opposites. You don't have to prove yourself into the ground. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to show up in your power and in your truth. Now, some ways for you to begin to shift and to get back into alignment with this placement. The first step is to stop editing your purpose to make it palatable. If your soul is asking for a new path, trust it. Your truth is not too much. Next is to detach your identity from your productivity. Who are you outside of your accomplishments? That's where your legacy begins. Next is to let yourself be visible while still becoming. You don't have to be the expert to be impactful. You just have to be authentic. Next is to reclaim your right to rest. You are not more successful because you're more exhausted. Burnout is not a badge of honor. And next is to own your brilliance. Virgo is humble, yes, but it's also masterful. You are not lucky. You are gifted. Say it to yourself. Next is to say no to roles that drain you, even if you're good at them, and even if they look impressive on paper. And finally, redefine success, not as perfection, but as alignment. And ask yourself, does this support my purpose and my peace? Your leadership is most powerful when it's not about managing impressions, but about moving from embodiment. You don't have to hustle for your worth. You are the work. A great affirmation for you having Virgo ruling your 10th house is, I am worthy of success without sacrifice. I lead with purpose, rest in my value, and allow myself to rise without perfection. I love to hear how this resonated with you, so definitely let me know in the comments. And if you are ready to stop watching and start leveling up, my signature one-on-one sessions and tools are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Virgo ruling the 11th house is a placement that carries the quiet ache of being the one who always shows up, but rarely feels fully seen. This is where your soul longs to serve something bigger: community, purpose, belonging. But perfectionism and overfunctioning can make you feel like an outsider, even in spaces you helped build. This is the placement of the overgiving visionary, the one who helps everyone else rise, but secretly wonders where they fit in. The 11th house rules your friendships, social circles, community, collaborations, humanitarian purpose, and long-term dreams. It's where you connect to your future, your people, your vision for a better world. With Virgo ruling this house, you show up in community with thoughtfulness, dedication, and integrity. You may be the one everyone leans on to keep things organized, intentional, and running smoothly. You have a deep desire to be of service to the collective, but your giving often goes unnoticed because it's so quiet and so seamless. This placement makes you someone who is deeply loyal, observant, and helpful, but also guarded. You crave belonging, but you don't trust it easily. You feel most aligned when you're contributing to something meaningful, but can lose yourself in trying to perfect the container instead of participating in the joy of connection. Your soul wants community that feels clean, clear, honest, and reciprocal. But until you heal the wound of invisible labor, you may keep ending up in spaces where you feel useful but never truly held. This is where the need to be of service becomes a shield against vulnerability. You do for others instead of letting yourself be known. You show up for the mission, but hide your own dreams. Now, some common blocks or challenges that can come with this placement is where you feel like you have to be helpful, productive, or perfect to be accepted. Supporting everyone else's goals, but putting your own on hold. Playing the behind-the-scenes role in group settings to avoid the pressure of being seen. Judging yourself for not doing enough within your community or social circles. Being overly critical of group dynamics and withdrawing when things feel messy or disorganized. Feeling like an outsider, even when you're included, because you don't feel truly understood. Or even silently longing for deeper, more meaningful friendships, but not trusting that it's safe to ask for them. You might be surrounded by people, but still feel alone. Not because they don't love you, but because you've trained yourself to be needed, not known. Now, having Virgo ruling your 11th house can show up in your day-to-day life in several different ways. So you could be the one who remembers everyone's birthdays, checks in, organizes the plans, but no one checks in on you. You get asked for help with projects, events, or collaborations, but your own voice isn't centered. You may keep your future dreams quiet because they feel too big, too unrealistic, or not practical enough. You could be part of a spiritual or creative community, but you don't feel fully yourself in it. You may avoid being part of messy or disorganized group dynamics, even when your heart longs for connection. Or you may often feel like the responsible friend, but not the fun one, the inspiring one, or the chosen one. This is the quiet heartbreak of being there for everyone, but never feeling like anyone is truly there for you. Virgo in the 11th heals when you shift from performing value in community to allowing yourself to receive value from community. Your future expands when you stop editing your dreams and start letting yourself belong as you are. Now, the best ways for you to realign and balance with this energy is first to let people see your mess. Stop filtering your presence to only what's helpful or impressive. Your truth is what magnetizes real community. Next is to say no to friendships or collaborations where you're only valued for what you do. You are not a utility. You're a soul. Let go of trying to be the glue in friend groups or teams. If it falls apart when you rest, it was never healthy to begin with. Next is to take your dreams seriously, even if no one else sees them yet. The 11th house rules your future. Don't sacrifice it to stay relatable. Next is to start receiving support. Let yourself be invited. Let yourself be chosen. Let someone else take the lead. Next is to create your own community, if none exist that truly nourish you. Your standards are high for a reason. You are meant to build something better. And finally, redefine belonging. It doesn't come from proving. It comes from presence. Show up without overfunctioning and watch who stays. You are here to change lives, but not through invisible service. It's through visible embodiment. A great affirmation for you having Virgo ruling your 11th house is, I deserve to belong without proving. I release the pressure to be everything to everyone and allow myself to be held, seen, and supported. I'd love to hear how this resonated with you, so be sure to let me know in the comments. And of course, be sure to like, share this with your friends who can also benefit from this message, and subscribe for more. And if you've been looking for a sign, hi, it's me. So be sure to check out my signature one-on-one sessions and tools that are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Virgo ruling the 12th house is one of the most emotionally complex and spiritually profound placements. This is where the weight of perfectionism becomes internalized, where your sacred sensitivity turns inward, where your soul seeks rest, release, and reconnection, but often ends up quietly drowning in the pressure to be spiritually, emotionally, or energetically perfect. This placement isn't just about overthinking. It's about overfunctioning in your subconscious. The 12th house is the realm of the unseen, the unconscious, the mystical, the karmic, and the soul. It governs your relationship with solitude, rest, intuition, grief, compassion, surrender, and healing. When Virgo rules this house, your inner world becomes quietly intense. You may appear calm and capable on the outside, but behind the scenes, your mind is a never-ending loop of self-critique, pattern analysis, and spiritual self-auditing. This pattern often creates a subconscious belief that you must earn your worth in silence, that your spiritual evolution depends on how hard you work to fix yourself, that if you could just purify your energy, quiet your flaws, and dissolve your ego, you'd finally feel at peace. But the 12th house doesn't heal through perfection. It heals through letting go, through dissolving control, through remembering that your soul is already whole. Virgo in the 12th says, if I just work a little harder behind the scenes, I'll be okay. But the soul responds saying, you're already okay. You just forgot how to rest in it. This is where perfectionism gets buried so deep it becomes invisible but relentless. You may hold yourself to spiritual or emotional standards so high that they sabotage your peace. Now, some common blocks with this placement includes feeling guilty for resting, doing nothing, or simply being. Struggling with burnout that seems to have no clear source. Criticizing your emotional or spiritual growth because it doesn't look like someone else's. Absorbing others' pain and blaming yourself for not being able to fix it. Being overly self-sacrificing or self-denying, especially in times of transition or chaos. Having a deep fear of messiness, vulnerability, or emotional dependency. Or over-functioning in secret, cleaning, organizing, researching, healing, meditating, just to feel safe in your body. You may even have a fear of asking for help, not because you don't need it, but because you feel like you should know better by now. This is quiet suffering, spiritual burnout, emotional invisibility, self-imposed penance. And it all lives just beneath the surface. Now, having Virgo ruling your 12th house can show up in your day-to-day life in several different ways. So you may be the person that others admire for being composed, grounded, and self-aware, yet you often feel emotionally exhausted for no reason. You may overanalyze your spiritual path, always searching for the next tool, method, or answer. You may take on collective emotional pain and feel responsible for transmuting it. You're deeply intuitive, but don't always trust your inner voice unless it can be proven or validated. You may feel ashamed of your own needs, messiness, or burnout. You may secretly believe that being spiritual equals being emotionally together all the time. Or you can't fully rest unless you feel like you've earned it by being productive. This is the quiet cry for mercy that lives inside the healer. The deep ache to finally feel held instead of always holding everything together. Virgo in the 12th house is healed through surrender, not as a collapse, but as a conscious release. Your greatest transformation happens when you stop trying to be pure, good, or perfect, and allow yourself to be free. Now, some of the best ways for you to balance and realign with this energy is first to release the need to be spiritually correct. You don't have to meditate perfectly, process perfectly, or heal on a timeline. Your soul is not a performance. Next is to let yourself rest before you break. Build in sacred pauses. Say no to people who expect you to hold their pain. You are not their savior. Next is to trust your intuition over your intellect. That gentle nudge you keep second guessing, it's divine. Listen to it. Next is to create rituals of imperfection. Let the journal be sloppy. Let your meditations and prayers be raw. Next is to feel your emotions without analyzing them. Grief doesn't need your logic. It needs your presence. Next is to speak your needs, even if they feel too much, especially if they feel unworthy. You don't have to carry this alone. And finally, let your healing be messy and non-linear. This is soul work, not a checklist. Stop keeping score. This placement is a sacred invitation. Rest is your birthright. Wholeness doesn't need your effort. Your softness is your strength. A great affirmation for you having Virgo ruling your 12th house is, I release the need to be perfect, to be worthy. I surrender control and allow myself to be held, healed, and guided by something greater. I'd love to hear how this resonated with you, so be sure to let me know in the comments. And of course, be sure to like, share this with your friends who can also benefit from this message, and subscribe for more. And if you're ready to invest in your highest timeline like it's a non-negotiable, my signature one-on-one sessions and tools are all in the description box below. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching.